lovely people, welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Research Spotlight. This is the show where we get to interact with researchers from all over the world. My name is Tisha, and today's conversation is with Mr. George Gyamfi. Mr. Gyamfi is a PhD candidate at the University of Queensland in Australia. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in English Language from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana, and a Master of Arts in Teaching English as an International Language from the Prince of Songkla University in Thailand. His current research interest centers on how students learn and what can be done to foster their learning assessment capabilities using educational technologies. It's so good to have you here again, Mr. Gyamfi.
Thank you very much, Tisha.
And I know this is the third time, right?
Yeah, this is the third time. I'm gradually becoming a regular customer.
Yes. Thank you so much for availing yourself and then always coming here to share your journey with us. I hope you are doing well in Australia and it's not too warm there.
No. I think we are gradually going out of winter, so the weather is well balanced here, so everything is okay. Yeah, everything's okay right here.
Great, that's really good to know. So talking about learning and assessment capabilities, everything about learning, teaching and learning. Has this always been your dream?
Yes. I would say, yeah, that's what I would say. I haven't done any other thing in my life apart from teaching and working with students. So from an earlier stage in my life, that is what I've been always dreaming about, teaching kids, teaching young adults, and to some extent adults in general. So it's always been my dream, and I don't know where this will be leading me to in the next future, but for now, that is what I'm passionate about.
That's good to know. So that means you feel fulfilled already, right? Because you are living the dream, right?
to a larger extent, it's still a journey. There's still more to be accomplished, and doing my best to live the dream to the fullest. Yeah. So I think I'm on the right path.
Right path. Great. So how was growing up like for you? Little George wanting to teach, wanting to learn. How was growing up like for you?
Yeah, I think well, whatever you are passionate about, you start acting it out at a very young age. So growing up, I used to gather my siblings around. We lived in a big house, so a lot of siblings, not really mad, but a few of us, where I gather them around and try to teach them something. Yeah, so it's these little things that I've been acting out is what has added up together to develop me as a person, as I am. So I just sometimes give them words to spell. I'll sometimes take them through dictations, just here and there, and then here I am now, teaching all the way to the highest level. So so growing up, I've been acting out my dream in the smallest way possible, and that is what has accumulated to bring me this far.
Wow, great. And what problems are your research work solving?
Well, I'm solving problems, I'm making contributions. So essentially what we are solving is to see to it that students have developed an ability to make decisions for themselves, and also inform decisions for themselves based on certain standards. And most importantly, what we want to solve is that we want to develop students into lifelong learners. We want students to be to be well equipped to such an extent that when they finish higher education, they know where to go. They know how to create things for themselves. They rely on their own ability to make things work for themselves. I think that is what education should eventually aim at doing, um, bringing people up in such a way that once they have been able to pass through the whole higher education system, they come out well equipped to not to be totally dependent on systems that have already been created, but to try as much as possible to come up with things that they themselves have initiated or have learned throughout their education. So we are trying the problem my research is trying to solve is not to totally rely on the past. Like in Ghana, we normally focus on past. So we have a lot of exams or a lot of assessment focusing on past questions. So the moment we begin to focus on past, then we get stuck. We get stuck there, right? So you see, students in higher education or students in even SHS rely most on past question. Our examination councils focusing on past questions. Meanwhile, the world is progressing. The world is changing now and then, right? So it's good to look back, but whilst we look back, we have to look into the future, more and more into the future, which means that we have to develop students who are able to create and who will be so innovative to such an extent that whenever they look into the past, they identify problems, and then with that they can do something for themselves for the future, and that way we solve issues such as unemployment, because once we're able to equip students with these valuable skills for the 21st century, we are dealing with a whole lot of issues. We are solving social unrest like demonstrations. We are dealing with unemployment because we are teaching students how to evaluate things for themselves and how to create things for themselves. So my research is a new area that seeks to look at opportunities that the 21st century brings us and how these opportunities can be added to our current higher education system or our current education system in order to create solutions for the problems we have, to create solutions for the problems we have. So it's a whole big thing. It's a whole big thing. But in simple terms, I'll just say the problem my research seeks to solve is to make students lifelong learners, is to make students independent, creative thinkers for the 21st century. Yeah.
Wow, this is really interesting. And how is this going to be done? Are we going to now retrain teachers or lecturers so that they know how to transfer the knowledge to students in such a way that the students will now know how to, will be more innovative? Or are we going to just go directly to talk to students? I don't know if we get what I'm trying to, because the teachers are the ones transferring the knowledge. So,
of course.
yeah. So how is it going to be?
Yeah, it's a whole it's not one side issue. So teachers have their parts to play. Students also have their parts to play. So for teachers, it's more of retraining themselves and putting in place structures that will be able to help them see things in a different light, or help them to see things that is in tune with the current system, the current generation that are coming up. So teachers have their parts to play, and most importantly, students have also their parts to play, because there's things are gradually moving. Not gradually, but everything is now online these days, and online presents us a huge opportunity to explore how we can presents us a huge opportunity to explore how we can take advantage of the systems that are in place online to develop students into their best possible self. So,
Mm.
one approach which I'm so passionate about or have been using these days, which is part of my research, is to look at um, learner sourcing, crowdsourcing. So, crowdsourcing, learner sourcing. So, it's just like taking
Would you
so
like to share the screen?
oh, okay. Well,
Expla-
maybe to some, yeah,
Okay.
maybe you can just, yeah, you can go ahead, share whatever. Yeah. So what I'm doing now in respect to students is for them to utilize current technology, which everybody has at their disposal nowadays, to bring out the best in them. So we see students normal people going online to create things, right? We see them going
Mm-hmm.
online to create things. Um, we see people crowdsourcing for money. We see people um, crowdsourcing for votes to for some petitions to be done. So this is the idea we have. If this can be done in the social space, why can't we do this in the educational setting? So we bring the idea of crowdsourcing into education, which some people call learner sourcing, because you're now going to put it in a structured way where students capabilities will be enhanced, right? So
Mm.
bringing them into such space means that we are putting them into a space where they can create things for themselves. In such way, they are not relying totally on the past, but we are bringing out what they have for themselves, right?
Yeah.
What they have in mind, and that means they are creating new knowledge for themselves. And in the form of in the process of creating new knowledge, they will also be evaluating such new knowledge they've created to make sure that they are at the right standard, to make sure that whatever they are putting out there is of good quality for themselves and also for others. So one thing that people that has always been mentioned, one framework that has always been mentioned is the Bloom's taxonomy, which is shown on the screen. And on the top of the Bloom's taxonomy, you have creation and evaluation. And this is what students, we aim at directing students at doing. So if you look at the very top, we have remembering, which is the bit, it's not necessarily bad, but once you start, we have remembering, which we do when we start education, when we start learning. So in primary school, we will do something like rain, rain, go away, go and come another day. We are just remembering, we are just reciting, we are just remembering. So from that stage, you move to understanding. You remember and you understand. Why are you even saying rain, rain, go away? Why reciting that? And then you apply. The application stage is when you put whatever you understand into practice to have an experiential feeling of whatever you've you've memorized, and you analyze. So these are stages. But I believe that at the highest level of things, especially in higher education, the focus should be on this level. And one way we can do this is to use technologies. One way because everybody is a content creator. Facebook,
Yeah.
people are making posts. Yeah, people are posting. People are making videos on TikTok. People are making videos on YouTube, just as what you are doing. At the end of the day, do you know the number of videos people post on YouTube? So people post a lot on WhatsApp, Snapchat, everything. So this is the idea we have. Bring all those skills into the educational setting,
Oh.
utilize them in such a way that it can help students come up with something on their own. And that is what we call learner sourcing, bringing our students together and then for them to create something new. So with my research, I'm doing something, I'm using a system called Ripple. which is called recommendation, which means recommendation in peer personalized learning environments. And the main purpose of this system is to engage students in higher order learning activities on the Bloom's taxonomy, as shown on the screen. So we engage students in creating. We just give them questions, and then they explore, they create their own thing. They can do whatever they like based on a certain standard we give them. So educators have their role to play, but most importantly, students are the focus, because they are the people who be going out there in the end to make the impact. And once we believe that once this is done, we'll be able to deal with a lot of things. For example, when you apply for a job, they're going to be asked, how many years experience do you have? We want people with 5 years experience. But once you're able to structure systems in such a way, and in this way, we some way somehow deal with some of these job experiences, because in your education process, you've been able to have experience in creating your own stuff. So it's a whole continent which everybody has a part to play. Yeah.
Well, this is really, really interesting. So at what level do you apply this? I mean, students from coming from crèche, primary school, secondary school, or higher level?
I think this can be done at all levels. Like this can be done at all levels, but with some little folk with different degrees of emphasis. So, for example, the level of critical thinking junior high school students can do will be different from a level of critical thinking a lower primary student can do, and a higher senior high school student can do. So different levels of critical thinking. So it spans across. It depends on how we put these things across to students, right? So that we begin bringing students up in the best way possible from the start, rather than focusing on the highest level at the higher level of education. So it's a gradual process. It can cut across all level of education. Some people would say that, oh, it's difficult to engage students, younger students, in critical thinking or in creating stuff. But it would amaze you if you go to lower primary, let's say class 1 to class 3, and ask students to create something. It will amaze you the kind of things they will come up with. It will amaze you the kind of analysis they're going to make, right? So these are the things you don't have to downplay at all. These are the things we rather have to enhance them to keep on exploring on their own, and also guiding them to their best possible self. And at the end of the day, when they end up in higher education, you'll see them creating things. They'll become the engineers, they'll become the good people we want to see in society. So yeah, education is very, very important one. It's once we get this right, we'll be able to build a society we want we'll be able to build a society we want for ourselves, right? We don't just wait for somebody to come and then dictate to us whatever we want. So it cuts across all level of education, all levels, but to a different extent.
Great. So what challenges have you faced so far, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of challenges working with students. It's challenge because my research is basically working with students. So how sometimes putting this across to students become a little bit challenging, even though they can relate from the social aspect of their life. Bringing them to the academic setting can sometimes be a challenge for them. They may sometimes see it as an overload. Right, yeah, because what we've been trying to do is to go through the normal system where we have education, where teacher gives us work, the teachers mark it, and then we get our feedback, and then we go away.
Mm.
But here, we are also training students to be able to give feedback for themselves and also for others.
Mm.
So we are sort of saying, this is what the teacher can do. We are giving that some of that responsibility to you to also mark or assess the work of your friends. In doing that, you also increase your own knowledge. You also
Mm-hmm.
increase your own expertise, right? So, um, moving students from their comfort zone of being just recipients to being active learners is something really good. But then it takes time for students to get completely into that frame. And we are not saying that it's going to happen now and then. It
Mm.
takes time. It
A
takes a lot
gradual
of time.
process.
The gradual process, but then it has to start from somewhere. It has to
Definitely.
start from somewhere. So that is one challenge with that. Another challenge is this that is relates to teachers or instructors or lecturers. It's um, this means that a lot of restructuring has to go on in the curriculum,
Mm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
imagine coming into contact with a lecturer or a teacher who has everything set up, who doesn't want to change things, then it becomes challenging for you to implement such an
Mm.
idea or such a system in the whole education curriculum of in the whole education curriculum, or even in just in one course. It becomes a very big challenge. So these are the two main challenges that is being faced, and actually that is what I aim at solving.
Solving.
That is one
Mm.
of the problems I aim at solving,
Mm-hmm.
to bring teachers or educators to a point where they're able to incorporate changes in their whole courses, right? And to
Mm.
also bring students to a point where they become active learners who will take control over their own learning rather
Mm.
than sit there for them to get some past questions at the end of the semester or at the end of the term to learn and then remember and then go and pass and then go and then forget. And
Chill
when they
for
get
time,
to
forget.
chill, as we say in Ghana, chill, pour, pass, and
Pass
forget.
and forget. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, when they go to the world of work,
Mm.
employers will complain that students are not ready for work.
But
See,
yeah.
students are not ready for work. But if we put things in such a way that if you restructure things in such a way in the way that I've described, it will also prepare students for the world of work. Because
Mm.
students are going to work with other people in an organization, and if you begin training them at least at a higher education level where they work with other peers, where they collaborate with other friends to work effectively, then we are also dealing partly with some of these problems. So it's a whole big thing. So
Yeah,
these
it
are some of the
is.
challenges. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, I really like your research area. Yeah, it's very
Thank you.
interesting.
Thanks.
So, what is a day like in the life of a researcher?
Uh yeah, it's my day. Well, so I wouldn't say a day in my life. I would say a semester in my life. Yeah, a semester in my life as a researcher. It's it's like it's a roller coaster.
Hmm.
So at the beginning of the semester, things are really hectic. Busy students are coming in, so I first of all have to interact with lecturers if they are interested in using the idea I'm selling to them and
Hmm.
incorporating it into their course. If they are interested, then I'll help them set everything up, and then I most of the time go to lectures with them to orient students about what they're going to do with what the new addition to their course. So some of these happen online, some of these happen in person. Now, mostly these days it's been online because of COVID.
COVID, yeah.
And um, the subsequent weeks are like exchange of emails between myself and students because the classroom is my lab. See, the class the classroom is my lab,
Mm.
and now the classroom has moved online. So whenever students have problems, they send them to me, and then I respond to them. Some of Most of the time, especially on weekends, that is when students do the assignments. So I get a lot of emails on weekends, especially on Sundays and Fridays.
Mm.
And so that is the first part of my life as a researcher. So working with students back and forth, helping them solve problems, and at the same time gathering data from them from the experience so that I can make improvements in, first of all, in um, the system I'm using, and secondly, um, know how to better guide students whenever they face problems. So that is the first part of the whole thing, and that is a semester long activity because I want to get a full picture of whatever is happening in a semester so that I can make informed decisions about what specific actions students can take or instructors or lecturers can take. And also, another aspect of my life has to do with, as a researcher, has to do with um, analyzing analyzing data I have from students, making sure they make sense, making sure I mean identifying gaps in where students fall short and making recommendations. And writing these days, I've been doing a lot of writing, 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 sometimes manuscripts, preparing PowerPoints based on what I've found to be shared with instructors and my advisors.
Mm.
Because I meet my advisors every Monday to discuss progress and also to show them what to ask for help. I mean, regarding where I'm having problems, and yeah, reading, because it is on the basis of that I can see what has been already done, so that I
Mhm.
wouldn't end up repeating myself, or as I said, I wouldn't end up going back into the past and doing the same thing, but then try to come up with new knowledge. So
Yeah.
my day is it's mixed with many things. It depends on the specific time in the semester. So when you get into the middle of the semester, I don't really interact with students that much because they know what to do. But
Mhm.
when it gets to make semester exam, I have to send reports to instructors about how the students are doing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the semester, I also have to send reports. So it's, as I said, it's a whole semester activity of classroom work or classroom work, and also it's all part of my research, and also researching, asking, writing,
Reading and
reading,
writing.
right, yeah, and analyzing, yeah.
Wow. So, as a researcher, we know that a way to communicate to us some of the things you are doing, or a way to showcase your work is through publishing articles.
Hmm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about that? What goes on in publishing a research article?
Hmm. It's a lot goes into that. A lot goes into that behind the scenes. Writing is it's I mean, the more you do it, the more you write, the better you become, right? So it takes a lot to write. You have to do a lot of reading. I do a lot of reading. in order to even start writing, in order to even put down a sentence or even a paragraph. A lot of reading goes into that. And then to make sure everything, your ideas flow, the storylines I'm trying to sell, I'm trying to tell people is well, it's coherent. And I mean, once the writing process is done and I want to sell my knowledge out there, I also have to search for the best journal, or I mean the appropriate, I wouldn't say the best, but the appropriate journal I can send my research articles to. And that also takes a lot of time, um, to decide or to know where to really publish your work, because my work is, I would say, is a multi disciplinary research, because it has a little aspect of online learning or computing or digital learning, a little aspect of some aspect of educational psychology, aspect of teaching and learning. So identifying which of these areas are the best, I mean, is the best for which of these areas is the best for whatever work I'm writing, is also something that has to be done. Publishing also um, takes a lot. There's a lot of predator predatory journals out there, so you also have to make sure that where you're publishing is the right place to do it. And it takes a lot of time to get reviews. Sometimes the reviews come and you've been rejected. Yeah. Um, and you have to go through a lot of revisions and rewriting and all sort of things. If you've been accepted, then you thank your stars and you give glory to God. So a lot goes into that. A lot goes into writing and publishing of paper, but generally, um, what I go through is sort of I've just told you, and it's the more you do it, the more I do it, the better I become. It's a whole learning process.
Yeah, I know we've already talked about rejection and how to deal with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So viewers can watch that if you are going through even article rejection, right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what should an aspiring researcher know before pursuing this career path?
Mm, mm, mm. My career path, or any career path
As a researcher, actually,
as
as
a
a
researcher.
researcher, yeah.
Yeah, it all starts with interest and passion. So if you're not interested about something, or if you're not passionate about something, perhaps along the way you may give up, or you may throw your hands in despair and just curse your stars. So I think the first thing is the passion, because it is that which will drive you to explore more. It is that which will push you to read more into the literature, that which will help you to dig more into the literature, to know what is in there. So passion, interest, I think, comes first. And also you have to have some knowledge in the area that you want to research. I know there are new and emerging areas coming up now and then,
Hmm.
but then you need to have some knowledge in where you want to research. I mean, enough knowledge in where you want to research into. For example, my background is, as you mentioned earlier, English as a bachelor's degree, teaching English as an international language as a for my master's, and now where I in my for my master's I focused on online learning.
Hmm.
So teaching on and online learning, not only classroom learning, but online learning, blended learning, and all those sort of learning. And now um, I'm expanding it to um, teaching. in education in general, in higher education, the same online learning component, and some parts of educational psychology. Uh, so and yeah, so the knowledge is there. So enough knowledge is there as a start off point. So if you want to be a researcher, it's more about having interest and also having enough knowledge as a start off point, or else you will give up. It's not a small journey. Um, so there should be something strong enough, at least, as a basis for you to start off it, or else you would give up.
You give up
But then,
and
yeah, if you're also passionate and have interest in that, um, at some point you lose the passion, and what will be driving you is the determination. So you also have to be determined. You also have to be determined. But above all, have the knowledge. Above all, have the knowledge. Above all, be interested in digging more and more and more and more.
well, so it's knowledge, passion, and determination, right?
Yes.
Great. How do you see the current state of research work in Ghana, and what do you think can be done to improve it?
Um, from my experience, I think what can be done to improve. Ghana is doing well in terms of teaching and learning in higher education, but in terms of research, I think there's more room for improvement, and for research to be done, um, um, there should be a lot of funding.
Yeah.
There should be a lot of funding. I mean, so if government is able to sponsor more, or if different bodies are able to put in the funding, the necessary funding, then the level of research in our higher education institutions would really improve, because most of the time we are more into the teaching, which is very good, which is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. But then if you want to expand, if you want to grow more and more and more, then more funds should be put into the research, because it is the money that would fund the researchers or the lecturers to explore more. If there is no money, then how can they
Do
do
their
their
work.
work? Right. Right. So, and another thing is the infrastructure. There should be enough infrastructure for every discipline to be able to carry out their level of research they want. As I said, the classroom
It's your
is my
lab.
lab, and now online is my lab, right?
Mm.
Because things have moved online, so online is my lab. So if institutions don't have appropriate structures for students to engage with, for example, provision of quality internet services on campuses, provision of state-of-the-art computer laboratories where students who don't have maybe computer accessories or computers to engage with, to learn on their own at home, can go and access, can go and use these things. Like if these things are not in place, then it makes things difficult for the students and even the lecturer who wants to do research. So it's a whole lot of things. The funding comes, appropriate infrastructure for every discipline, right? Not to prioritize other disciplines ahead of others, because
Others, yeah.
it's a whole society and we are all linked together. So if you prioritize, let's say, A ahead of B, then it may not be well with us to a larger extent. So there is more to be done. There is more to be done on that. And also, once these things are done, there should be we can publishing of our research work is also something that also has to be looked into very well. And yeah, so I think institutions are now. I'm so happy. I mean, back home, institutions have begun restructuring many things. They began lifting up the standard and lifting up the bar so that students and lecturers can go into more research.
Mm.
So I would say research in Ghana is coming up gradually. It's coming up
Mm-hmm.
gradually. And now you can see some students in some universities, either private or public, um, even at undergraduate level, trying to publish some works. So
Mm.
which is
Which is good.
a
Mm.
sign of something, that is a sign that things are changing to
Getting
some,
better. Mm.
yeah, getting better. Yeah, getting better. So
Great.
research is okay. It's,
Yeah.
it's getting better.
It's good to know that things are getting better back home. And so, do you have plans of going back to Ghana to settle?
Um, well, I would say I moved from Ghana to Thailand and now I'm in Australia. So wherever my services are needed, why not?
Mm.
Um, as I always say, I'm available to help if I'm needed. So if my services are needed in Ghana, why not? If my services are needed elsewhere, why not? There is a problem where people have complained that whenever they try to go back home, there are some challenges here and
Yeah,
there. And getting the job is a challenge. Perceptions surrounding people who have gone um,
abroad.
gone outside abroad to pursue education, and the perceptions of those back home. These are some challenges that come to play when people want to go back home. So personally, if the opportunity comes and if my services are needed, I'll willingly help. Yeah, why not? But if I offer my services and I'm
You are
not needed,
rejected
yeah, I'm rejected, what else can I do than to look elsewhere? Yeah,
elsewhere.
so yeah, so like, I mean, other people are also have the desire to come back home, but the structures to receive them. I don't mean the physical structures, but the pathways through which they can use to come sometimes become very complex or challenging to deal with. See, so yeah, so yeah, I why not? I don't really, and also as I said, I don't really have to be in Ghana before I can make any impact,
Impact.
right?
Mm, mm.
I can do
Now,
it.
now online is your lab. So,
Yeah, so I can do everything online. So yeah, and there's a lot of collaborations between institutions. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, so why not? I'll be very happy. I love my country.
Yeah, I pray that when you are ready to go, you would be accepted with both arms because we need this, we need the knowledge that you have acquired to make things better, especially in our education system. So I just do pray and hope that whenever you are ready to come back home, the structures will be accepting enough
Yeah,
to
they
make
are.
it more.
They are very. Yeah, you're right. It's. I've seen some colleagues go back home, and I mean, their feedback is great. Um, Things are getting changing, and I'm particularly impressed about the changes that the ministers of education are doing these days. Even though more is yet to be done, but they are still they also know the challenges, and they have put in place plans to address them.
Mm,
Um, um, Infrastructure wise is there. I leave that for other people, but I'm more concerned about the curriculum and how to impact students positively. So these are things that have been done. They've gone through the curriculum, they've changed certain things, they've
mm,
restructured the aims that we, at the end of the day, what we want students to achieve out of things. But I think at some point we still in terms of assessment, we still go back to the previous ways of doing things, relying
yeah,
most on past
past
questions. We see
questions. Mm,
this government buying past questions, past questions, past questions. We can look into how can we restructure our assessment to look in more into the future, and then to generate new knowledge and build our citizens up. So it's we are still in progress. I mean, we are still in the process. Things are working for us. Yeah.
Great. Wow. It's been great listening to your journey and your super interesting research work. So, what will be your final words to our viewers?
Um, Final words. What should I say? Research is good. It forms the basis on which every developed country grows. Um, Without knowledge, as the Bible says, for lack of knowledge, my people perish. Right?
Perish. Yeah.
And to generate new knowledge, we have to look into things carefully. We have to search, and we have to research, and we have to research. So research is very good. And one thing I also want to say is that whatever you have interest in, it is not bad. No matter what people say about it, uh, don't give up. Keep on pursuing it. Keep on searching on it. Keep on finding ways through which you can improve that, because the world is big and there's always space for you for your research interest. And also, you have to gather as much knowledge as possible. Knowledge is infinite. It is so vast that you cannot exhaust it. So um, keep on researching, keep on expanding your horizon in terms of how much knowledge you can consume, and you'll be surprised what you'll be able to 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 to, to know when you keep on building, you keep on digging deep into whatever you have. And learn more in your area of study, learn what to research into, learn where you can publish your work, and also how you can implement the findings you have in your research. We have a lot of research sitting in the libraries unimplemented.
Yeah.
How can we implement whatever idea you can research? Because that'll be how you can experience new knowledge you've been able to come up with. So I think that is where research ends. Let us experience whatever you have in our lives. Also, determination counts. There will be a lot of setbacks. There will be a lot of broken hearts. There'll be a lot of rejections. There'll be a lot of negative criticisms of your work, and because of that, you may want to give up. But don't give up. It's part of the whole process.
Yeah.
It's part of the whole process of that is how learning occurs. If you always get um, if you don't get criticized constructively, then um,
They
you
want to
may not be.
learn.
Yeah, so that is how learning occurs. So that's how it is. And lastly, um, don't give up. Believe in your abilities. Try as much as possible to seek help when needed, because you are not the only repository of knowledge. A lot of things are coming up. When you have ideas, share it with people who can relate with your ideas. If others cannot relate with your ideas, move on to the next person. Then you find people who always have the same ideas as you. So that is what I want to say. Education is my passion. I'm passionate about everything education, and I think it is the foundation on which every civilized society is built. Once we take it seriously, then other people, as a country in Ghana, other people elsewhere will take us seriously,
Yeah.
because it is that which shows how far we've come as a nation and as a people. So I want to play my part if the stage is ready. But in the meantime, I'm preparing backstage. When I'm called upon, I'll come and display my skills. So that's what I'll have to say.
Wow, great, great. Thank you so much, Mr. Gyamfi, and we wish you all the best in the work that you are doing. More grace to your elbow. You are doing so well. So keep
Thank you
up
very much.
the good work. And thank you
Thank
so much for sharing your journey also with us.
Thank you very much, Tisha. It's nice always coming on your show, and you're also doing a great work. Keep
Thank
bringing people on board to share their experiences, and you never know who you are blessing with these interviews and with these things you are doing. So, thank you very much for creating this platform for us to also share what we have.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, viewers, for staying tuned always, as always, and watching our interactions with researchers. So see you in our next episode. Bye bye.
Bye.